Thanks for joining us today as we wrap up what happened in 2024. With me today is Chad and Kim and Bandon, and we're going to chat about a couple of things for us. The most important things that we discuss on a daily basis really relates to interest rates, exchange rate, and what's happening on the S&P 500. So the rand obviously has strengthened a lot this year, but I'm going to move on to and ask Kim at this stage what her thoughts are on the rand and where we are and what are we doing about the rand in terms of our clients now that it's dropped below 18 and her thoughts on the rand going forward.
Yeah, so I think we were quite shocked, all of us, I think, that the rand did drop below 18 again. A lot of people in the beginning of the year thought the rand was kind of just going to fly to over 19 and beyond. So with PW Harvey having majority of our clients' money directly offshore, we're just sending as much as possible out. So everyone's allowed that 1 million rand a year that they can send out without getting a tax clearance, and anything else we can assist with that. But we are sending as much as we can out at the moment, especially with the rand being just under 18 at the moment.
I think as well, from a rand point of view, I think what's also quite nice is the diversification of us investing offshore with that money that we've sent overseas, that direct offshore investment. And we'll chat a little bit about it later when we get onto Bandon. But so Chad, I mean, the JSE this time last year, well, kind of September, October, November last year was under 70,000 points, and today we're sitting at 87. I think it's an incredible recovery we've had and the growth that we've had, and I kind of get the feeling that a lot of analysts and economists are looking for more growth next year. What are your kind of feelings on that?
Well, it's looking optimistic. There's a lot that has improved in terms of the general economy this year. Obviously, there are international factors that have definitely had a huge factor in that, with interest rate coming down from the Fed as well as on our side. But in addition to that, we've had some really good performing industries this year, across equities as well as even down to gold and retailers as well, doing very well. So I think that there is potential more rand to come, and I'm looking forward to something happening with our GNU next year as well. And that they are, as you say, the analysts are optimistic, especially seen some good reports coming from likes of Moody's and so on and so forth. So I think it's going to be good.
And you still think there's some nice opportunities from a Southern perspective in terms of the JSE, in terms of what to buy?
I think so. I think there will be. I'm optimistic. Maybe that's just me, but generally speaking, I think that we as I said, there's more growth to come, and things are getting better. So we'll have to keep a good eye on that.
An interesting indicator for us has been that that share we buy cars that was unbundled, and the way that the share price moved from about 17 or 18 to where it's sitting at the moment has been incredible. That's a sign of the times that people have got a little bit more cash in terms of being able to buy or upgrade a motor car or of that nature. So on that aspect, it's been quite interesting. I'm going to move on to Bandon now. That at the start of the year, the US market kind of anticipated that it would have 6 major kind of interest rate cuts during the course of the year that never really materialized at the start, and has now only started getting a little bit of momentum going. But we finished last year off with that word that everybody was throwing around, Magnificent Seven, and we kind of seen that the market has continued to run since the beginning of this year, irrespective of that interest rate. It's been interesting to see, and then also that what has happened now with Donald Trump coming in, again, that the market had a little bit of a boost. So your thoughts on the US market from our client's point of view?
Yeah, so I think I can start and just say 2023 was one of the better years for the S&P 500 or the US market, given the fact that there was wars and global conflicts that came about. Inflation was running, or it was at a high point, and there was monetary policy that they had to tighten. So coming into 24, probably people were cautious and maybe not as optimistic, and the year has played out to be quite successful. Funny stat, the last time that we had 2 years where the S&P 500 gave 25+% was in 1954 and 1955 consecutive years.
Okay. And
and we've done that 2023 to 2024. So 2024 in a nutshell was a good year. What's going to happen in 2025, I'm not 100% sure, but I think some optimism is
Okay.
granted, given that 60% of the world went to the polls this year.
Okay. We'll talk a little bit later about some of the what we've been buying and the use of investing offshore through ETFs and unit trusts and some of the benefits of the offshore. But I'm just going to go back to you, Chad. I mean, you've recently joined us, been here for 3-4 months, coming from the same industry, from a different company, come across to us. What do you find different at PW Hogan Co. compared to where you worked before?
Well, there's definitely a huge support, not just from a financial services side, but I mean, generally speaking, being able to create bespoke portfolios with clients, but also assist with tax, draft wills, and do anything really in-house. That makes a huge difference because we really can just assist the client from A directly to Z and be the entire package that they need to be. Obviously, I come from a tied background, so tied industry means that we only have one provider, and here we've got a range of choice. So that really does mean that we can act solely for the benefit of the client, and being on that level, obviously we're able to provide our clients with a portfolio that's very holistic and going to definitely be something that they can rely on and trust in.
I mean, you picked up that from a PW Hogan Co.'s point of view, we really want to be able to do as much as possible for our clients. And the more we know about our clients, the actually easier it is to give kind of financial advice. And I go back to the 6 steps of financial planning that we all fall under, the FSCA that talks about that. And I think that comes through quite clearly when you look at the work that we're doing. Okay.
For sure, yes.
Okay.
And that's because, I mean, we get to know a lot more about our client, especially because we have the asset statement for every one of the clients. That makes a huge difference because step 1 of your 6-step financial planning process is very well taken care of then, which means that logically speaking, your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and all the way down to your 6th step can really be done well, considering you've started well with your 1st step. I've always thought that if the 1st step is not followed correctly, then the remaining 5.
Okay.
Okay.
And I mean, you found that in the office itself that you have got lawyers and chartered accountants that can actually add value to your planning that you're doing in terms of it. Okay. Kim, I'm going to go back to the offshore because we have about 40% of our clients' money is directly offshore. We talk about an asset swap or we talk about direct offshore investing. We also must remember that during the course of the last 18 months, the government has allowed us to invest up to 45% of our retirement money offshore, which has been a big boost for our clients on that aspect. But we have a lot of clients that have got money offshore and that we actually invest directly ourselves. And kind of just give us an update on the direct offshore investing we do and the opportunities that we have.
So I think the biggest opportunity that we give to our clients is that it's so accessible for them. So anyone can go offshore. We've got young clients that are working on yachts, that are teaching overseas, that we're able to facilitate direct offshore investments for them. Easy access into a company like a Microsoft or NVIDIA, we're able to do that for them with us actually being here, pressing the button and making the offshore share choices. And then for obviously your higher end, larger clients who want more protection, we can offer the offshore wrapper, which is a huge benefit with the capital gains tax reductions, the nominated beneficiaries, etc. So we're able to cater for all types of clients, which is very nice, and it's nice to know that we can make it accessible for everyone to do that.
And the choice that we have in terms of investing offshore, in terms of being able to buy a direct share on most stock exchanges around the world, plus ETFs, plus the unit trust, and we're finding that the ETF route is becoming a lot more easier to investing and reasonably priced in terms of it.
Yeah, we're able to go for people who've got maybe a little bit less money to start off with, going into an ETF that tracks a S&P 500 or a specific theme that we've kind of picked up on is very helpful rather than kind of backing one share or one stock. There's so much choice. So
okay. So Bandon, this year quite a bit has happened in terms of high debt that the government has had and companies have had and individuals have had because of the high interest rates. They introduced a two-pot system, retirement system this year. We're not really a fan of it, but that was introduced this year to help people settle some of their debt, to have access to money, which ultimately in the long term is not going to be beneficial for them when they do retire. We also have seen a lot of what I call this modern day warfare that's happening around the world, where that you're actually seeing it on a day-to-day basis and on television sets, which hasn't been good. We've got Trump who's threatening with a lot of trade from the tariffs that he wants to introduce. So it's been quite difficult, but we've been very lucky with where we are in terms of markets. Where do you see us going forward from 2025 in terms of continue from where we are now?
Yeah, so I just to touch on your first point, the two-pot system obviously came in the 1st of September. Not something that we promote or we encourage people to utilize. Obviously, we'd like to preserve retirement funds for ultimately their retirement, but we do also understand the reason why it maybe came into effect, to give that person who maybe has high debt or needs to pay a couple bills that he can't get to with his normal salary. So it does help, but it's not something we want our clients to be withdrawing on. Number one, the cost today is great for the future, and number two, it ultimately is for retirement. To touch on the warfare side of things and the different events that happen in this world that we live in, so we're able to buy into ETFs, just to feed onto Kim's side of things, on our global portfolios, that buy into military stocks. Not that we want to profit off war, that's not the point, but we do know that different countries are depleting their stockpiles as they either give weapons or they use them. So someone has to replenish that, and we do think that's a sector that ultimately could benefit from that. Going into 2025, that's a tough question. I'm happy you gave me that answer, that one to answer. I'm cautious, but I am also optimistic. It's more locally, just because of the GNU coming in. I think it's positive. I can feel positivity around us, and the market has responded in that way. From Trump coming in, I'm not sure how that plays out. I'm a little bit more positive on Trump than maybe some people, but he does split opinion. So going into 2025.
Okay. I think he's going to entertain us this week.
Yeah, it's going to be a good 4 years of it's the Trump show, essentially. Yeah.
I think lastly, just before we wrap up, for us, we're going into a declining interest rate cycle. We've had this beautiful interest rates where we locked in some of our clients at incredible rates for a 5-year period, and now they're going to start to come off, and those retirees are going to feel that. So people's expectation about what can we give them is very important. We must remember that JSE over the last 60 odd years has given us about a 12.5% return before fees, and the US market, the S&P 500, has been about 7.9 before fees. So we're trying to do that. Our problem is that we keep on hearing out there that your friend has indicated that he hit an incredible return on his Bitcoin, had done something, done whatever. But our job is in terms of being able to advise our clients what is the expectation on return, okay? And I think it's quite an important point, so that people don't get disappointed or don't bank on something in terms of thinking what they're going to get. We need to be realistic. So I mean, it's quite a difficult talk when you meet a client and to lower the expectation, because I think that the expectations are quite high.
Yeah, I think on that, if I'm going first, yeah. The cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, not everyone can be in it. It is for a specific client who has a risk profile or tolerance that is a lot higher than maybe the average person. And especially if you're a retiree, you don't want to be taking any unnecessary risk on that money that's for retirement. And hopefully with the high interest rates coming, having been that we've enjoyed, hopefully people have locked in rates that can help carry them through to the next 2 to 3 years, instead of trying to find a rate now as it's coming off.
Yeah, I think from a client expectation, just what I've experienced, people are struggling still. Standard of living is still high. Chad mentioned something earlier. Your load shedding has stopped, which we're happy about. The price of electricity though has gone up quite a lot. So the man in the street is struggling with the amount of money they've got each month to invest, and we hope that changes. And I think with the expectation, people are looking for ways to increase their income, so they immediately are wanting a higher performance. They're looking for something that maybe can give them that extra edge that they're losing out on now because of these high costs of everything. So it's a tough conversation.
I think the word cost of living, I think, is very important. I mean, one just needs to look at what the increase of medical aid rates were this year. They were all double-digit rates, and we're talking inflation around about 3% or whatever. That you've got a medical aid that's in double-digit returns and increase, which is in there. So from our side, just to wrap up, really for us, we're looking to grow our clients' money, and we're hoping that 2025 will give us that growth. Not the same as what we don't expect the same as what we've had in in 2024. But if we're going to get that growth, I think for us as well that we're looking for peace. These wars that are going on around the world really is offsetting and sad to see on what's happening. And then from us, it's really is to make sure that our clients understand what they have and what they don't have, and to make sure they have a proper financial plan in place. But thanks very much, appreciate it, well done, and all the best for 2025.